designed by Steinman, a New York architect, and the first brewer was Rochester from Ireland. The building itself is actually unusual, how it was modelled on a medieval castle. The label of the beer, castle beer, was modelled on the building. It had the same pointed arches, turrets, and so on. So it was very much an advertisement for marketing component of castle beer. A steel-framed, riveted steel building, and that's part of the beauty of the building. It's got high volumes and this very elegant structure. The actual base of the building was built with Table Mountain sandstone and was reminiscent of the castle type of building where the base is made solid and heavy out of stone and the upper parts are lighter in typical castle style. The windows are also unusual, they're all cast iron, and a beautiful feature of the building is in the tower a spiral staircase that goes right up to the top. In 1901, Cato was still quite a small town. When the building was first envisaged, it faced towards the mountain. And of course, at that stage, very importantly, the first railway line was built from Cape Town to Simonstown. And that was considered, travelling by train, as being upmarket way to travel. The streets must have been dirty, a lot of horse manure on the streets and muddy and so on. So the train was a gentleman's way of travel. And the main face of the building was then built to face the railway line. And hence, when you look at it from that side, you can see. Steinman, a New York architect, who was involved with a number of similar buildings around the world. In Australia did one, I think there's a few in South America. There are a number, and they all relied on gravity. So there was a furnace which would then generate steam, and those would then drive steam pumps up to the highest point of the building, and then from there the whole brewing process fed down by gravity from tank to tank until the bottling at the lowest level and delivery. So the actual design being an American design, where America, they were very in favour of building with steel frame structures. This, one of the unique steel frame structures in South Africa, was all made with Carnegie steel, riveted, brought out from America and then assembled here. And in fact, the amount of steel in this building is phenomenal. There are huge I-beams and meter centers holding up each of the floor, which has just never been done in South Africa before. So the building has got a bit of a rapid warren feel about it. But once you understand the structure, you realize it's actually got quite a nice fit. Some of the surprises that were developing the spaces was some of the basement spaces. So we've got a small architectural school in the complex, and there was quite a very beautiful stone walls, not in fact Table Mountain sandstone. They are slate, and there we experimented with very special lighting to light the walls, and it's got a much more of a sort of a cave feel about it, which was almost in the old days where they would have had burning flame like sticks to light up the dungeons of a castle. Some of these basement spaces have got that same kind of feel. Some of the other very great things that would surprise us was just this sheer volume of some of the floors, which were in cases 6 meters, and to again make maximum use of that was to use mezzanine floors, and then you still get that rustic feel of the walls coming through and these high volumes, which make for interesting spaces. The overall styling of the new building was not necessarily to ape the old building, but to rather be sympathetic towards it. There are differences, there's different windows, there's different bricks, and even we just don't do brickwork like it was done in the old days with the pointing that was done in the old bricks. And in fact, if you look at some of the details of the old building, the tower, for instance, the bricks are actually wedge-shaped bricks. They're curved on the outside, which makes nobody makes bricks like that anymore. So one has to improvise largely when you're building with the new materials and the new methods of building. The issue has been energy and greener building. So the new building, the windows, although larger, they let in much more light, so that one's less dependent upon artificial light, has got a high solar reflective, so you have less heat build-up. It's got special laminates in, so there's less noise from the bridge and the railway line. And then also the actual light fittings are all LEDs or low energy fittings. And that has been one of the emphasis on the building always going forward, is to try and use the latest technology that has the benefits of both energy efficiency and good lighting. Over time, some of the finishes of the building has matured. At one stage, it was a lot of painted floors. We had this guy, Bevan Christie, who was passionate and used to be on his hands and knees doing floor designs. Unfortunately, a lot of that has been lost because it's worn off, the paint didn't last, it's scratched. And now we're going much more towards a cleaner white floor in some cases, but it's changing the look to some extent. And with that lighter, I think, and more open kind of spaces. But I think that's going to do with generally people's ideas of space change. They want to have something that is more visually inspiring, and I think that's the clean lines and open spaces of trend today is very much reflected in where the building has been going. The turret was considered one of the beautiful elements. It's a non-functional element, but it's every castle needed to have a turret, and they would always have these cone-like roofs on top of it. The cone-like roof disappeared very early on in the decay of the building, more than likely covered, I suppose, with lead, and lead would have always been able to find a good scrap value, so people would have removed it and sold it. It was one of the elements which was going to be quite expensive to put back and not give any real value to the building. So it was something that was done with hesitantly, but very fortunately the new owners after Max Arlen felt it was necessary to make the building what it is, a landmark, and that turret is very much a landmark. So we proceeded to try and see how we're going to go and put this up. It's very high up, it's 40 meters in the air, and it's very difficult to get a scaffold up there. It's not easy to get people to work up there, but there's danger. So the scheme was hit on to build it on the ground, and a steel frame was made, clad with timber, and then this very thin slate tile, which has got the same sort of look, being as what old photographs showed of very possibly the lead-covered roofing. And so it was very much to try and recreate what was there before and replace it. And there was a lot of excitement when we were putting that up. This thing was going, it looked huge, like this huge witch's hat going up on the platform at ground level. Even there, still, it was a two-story structure, when they would say so when you look at it from a distance. But it's a big element. And And then eventually on Saturday, when the perfect windless day came and we were going to now hoist it up. And of course a lot of people had stopped at the bridges and watched this whole procedure. It was quite a tricky thing. Somebody had to go up with it on the top so that when it was in place you could unhook the crane. And of course that was a bit of a daredevil, dangerous element. We very fortunately had a mountaineer, one of the mountain club rescue party guys who volunteered to do that. And of course very successfully, no injuries or falling or like that. Being a mountaineer, he knew how to get down. But it was something that was in the local tattlers. It was a great excitement, and I think the whole complex, everybody in the complex was there that day. We had coffee and out watching the procedure. It took a couple of hours to actually lift up and position and unhook. But it was a great day. It was a great day for the castle. It made it back to what it was. With the last decade, Woodstock has become very much the in place to be. I think the castle building has become very much an anchor in that, and the kind of people here are still very much forming the milieu of Woodstock with its, I think now, very beautiful architecture. Woodstock has got a very Victorian flavour to it, but which has now got a lot more coffee shops, bakeries, art galleries, furniture designers, etc., etc. And a lot of those people respond very positively to the fabric of Woodstock, the small semi-detached cottages, which is still very much an important part of Woodstock. And of course the small little industries. People will do sheet metal work, exhausts, brakes, all of those kind of things. And of course, Woodstock is still one of the places where you can get the best samosas or rotis. There's still that underlying fabulous culture and mixed of many years of layers of cultures that have come to settle in Woodstock.